and it wasn't a good idea. But then he would, he'd listen and he'd explain. So definitely him.
Yeah, fantastic. So we spoke back to business. We spoke to Scott Padwick in our last Career Paths episode, who I believe you know him.
I do.
So he started way back when in the academy.
I can't work out if he started before me or after. I think it was just after.
Well, he quoted 20 years.
Yeah, I think it was a year after me. That would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, so he spoke a bit about the Sales Academy. Obviously, it has changed a lot through the years, and it's something that you're now running.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit to how that has developed through the years and what it looks like at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's developed lots because, the Academy, I think Steve Cowley was probably the first person to do that, was kind of, right, before we get these people on the phone, because you've got to think back in the day, it was, well, there's a phone, you're a sales manager, an account manager, off you go.
What do I do with this?
And then obviously that thought process becomes, well, should we sort of give people a little bit of education? And it was very minimal at first, and I think there was probably a little bit of documentation. And then that progressed to then Phil taking that on and building, what became quite a large, book of information and his approach and all these kind of things. And a few people have done it in the interim. But where we sit today, and actually myself and Phil spent about a year probably taking all of those old guides and books. We used the old ones and we added in there in different fonts, and it was just added information. And we utilised the studio and the marketing department from Exertis to create actually what is now I think something in the region of a 70-page proper studio-made guide on everything you need to know about the job. And you can imagine that working through that and making sure that hits home, we now spend somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks in a classroom with a group of 5 or 6 before they start. You've got to think as well that that's constantly adaptable because, as we've mentioned in this discussion, the world's changing. The world's changed. You can't teach people what we taught them 20 years ago. What I would say is the base elements of that approach of we profile people, we understand what they need, what they want, what they do, how they do it. The open question approach of really just talk to me about your business and about you and about your problems and what works and what doesn't. That approach has never changed since 1991 when Hammer started. And that's an approach we'd never changed. But all of the meat around it, the technology and
that's the changeable
changed, right? So we have to adapt that approach each time. And equally, look, I'm not Phil. Phil's not Steve. So when Steve did it, he had his approach, and when Phil did it, he had his. And quite rightly, now when I'm doing it today, and it's probably worth mentioning, why does the general manager do it? Because it's really important in this business. We're not a huge believer in bringing in trained salespeople. I think where we've talked about the fact that we're relatively unique, we like a blank canvas to teach them that methodology, which they can utilise. The amount of people, we talk about how many people have been successful coming through the academy in this organisation. If I start talking about the people that have gone on to other things in other organisations, it's endless, So many people that have been trained through that academy are out now with hugely successful careers in other parts of the IT world or business world. So I think what we teach them are the basics, fundamentals of business wrapped around what we do and our approach and our technology. And
so it's not just this is what you do at Exertis. I suppose it's skills that they can sort of apply.
Yeah, it's sales. It really is. Half that book is around our market.
Okay.
But maybe not even half actually, but a big chunk of it you could utilise for anything.
Yeah.
Because let's be perfectly honest, what is the best sales approach? Even as a consumer, you don't want someone to go, oh, that's the telly you want. You want them to find out what you're using it for, how big it is, what's the budget, what kind of, technology pieces, what kind of sound you want. You want to find out everything you want about a telly and give you the right telly, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's Sales 101 personally.
Okay. And so the Sales Academy today, so how often do you sort of take in a
Every
new
6
cohort?
months.
Every 6 months?
And it comes around very quickly.
It does?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a new load coming in.
I feel like I just about get through one group and then I have like a day to breathe and the next one comes in, yeah.
And the next lot come in.
Yeah,
And lovely is from a commercial point of view, seeing people start in that academy and then go across into different teams, different specialisms, and sort of learning those and just integrating within the Exertis Enterprise sales teams. It's really lovely. So they come in every sort of 6 months. How many do you take at a time, would you say?
You know, 5, sometimes 6. And the reason for that is, you know, we've always said, and every group will always say to me, we're going to be the first group where all of us, you know, make it, right? Yeah. And the reality is it's not that simple. Not, you know, partly because we may give them a lot of training and realise not everyone can do this, right? It's a tough job. It is. I mean, you know, why do we pay really good commission that allow people to build a great income and a great life? Because it's tricky what we do, right? And sometimes that means that you get all mixed. People give it everything, but it just doesn't suit them. But they learn a lot along the way, and it's great for them. Sometimes the culture might not fit someone. You know, sometimes they might decide that they want to go try something else. We might decide it's not, you know, so if we end up after a 6-month cycle of giving someone all of the opportunity and a couple out of the 5 make it stay and progress on, that's okay. Yeah. So tends to be 5 or 6 every time. And I would love one day to take all 5 or 6 through, but for a myriad of reasons, it generally doesn't work like that.
It's not going to suit everybody as well, and you're sort of educating them around sort of sales generally, and they're going to be picking up skills that they can sort of link to other things as well. And they might actually realise once they've had their first exposure to it, maybe this isn't for me. They're not signing a contract to say, I am signing my life away to Exertis Enterprise for 5 years.
I think, you know, it's that thing that, you know, if someone said the phone's going to ring, you help them. Cool, everyone can do that. Everyone, a lot of people could do that. You know, if it's that thing of, right, we're going to give you 20 buying accounts and you've got to try and grow them. A lot of people could do that. It's very, very tricky at that entry level piece to go, here's a ton of companies you can call, and then you can call anyone you want, really, but you got nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you know, I joke that I was good at it because I got used to it in my teens, but rejection is, you know, 100 times a day getting told to no sometimes. It's tough, right? And saying that I can cope with that is different to whether you can in the cold, hard light of day. It's difficult, you know. You might have a day where you work really hard and get absolutely nowhere, and to pick up the phone again and again and again takes good mental strength.
Most jobs don't deal with that level of rejection. I used to work as an actor, and you will get 10 no's before you get somebody going yes, and then it is like with you guys, interested in what they're selling. And there's a certain amount of resilience, I suppose, and that could be something that doesn't work for everybody.
Definitely.
And suddenly go, oh, you know
what a great example.
I'm going to take this personally.
Yeah, and you would. I think you do. I think even I did, but I used it as fire and fuel.
To keep going for the next one.
Of course, and do you? You know, it's a good example. You know, how many people do you think give up acting because of the rejection? Loads, probably, right?
Well, half of my class at drama school.
There you go.
I'm here, for goodness sake.
So if 5 actors came in and you came out with 2 that made it, it's that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and we'd still count that as pretty good odds.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so when you're sort of looking for a new cohort academy...
Cohort,
the next cohort, the next group coming in. What do you look for?
Gut feeling.
Oh, okay.
And it is, you know, look, you can ask all, we have a great assessment day here where we get them to present and we get them to pitch and we set challenges, group challenges, so that you can see those skills of how do they work in a group. Do they lead but not take over? Are they confident talking about something they don't know about? Can they present confidently? You know, so we get as many little markers as we can.
So like little workshops, to see how they react to certain situations.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes I've been able to go, they're going to do really well, and they do. Yeah. Sometimes I've had it where you go, okay, yeah, you can have the 5th spot, although I'm really not sure, and they've gone on to be the best one, right?
Prove you wrong.
So yeah, it really is as much info as that assessment day gives you with 20 years of experience. Yeah, and I get it wrong a lot.
Yeah, nobody gets everything every time. But yeah, it sounds like a fun day then.
The assessment day, I enjoy. Phil says it's his favourite day of the year.
I've never heard about the assessment day, and I kind of want to join the next one because it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, they are quite good.
It's great. You get to know them as people as well, sort of.
We try and really get to know them.
Yeah, that's great. And so, is it just that one day then?
Yeah. So the way it would work is our recruitment team would probably talk to 100 people.
Okay.
And the ones that, let's say the 15 or 20 that they think, okay, as a recruitment team, we think there's an angle there.
Yeah.
They'll go through the recruitment day.
Okay, fantastic. And then you
Assessment day, I should say.
Assessment. So 5 or 6 from there.
Yep.
What would you say to if somebody was watching this now and
Yep.
thinking about a career in sales and saw an advert or something for the Exertis Enterprise Sales
What would I
Academy?
say? I would say that genuinely for everyone, but more importantly their sake, is it something that you seriously want? I knew I wanted to be in sales, right? And I'd done enough sort of, where you get a temp job. I remember one where I had to sell Clicks coffee refills to businesses.
Oh, okay.
And my team were doing 200 boxes a week and I was doing like 4,000. So I kind of had in my head, well, I think I can do this. So whether you've had some level of personal experience that you might be a good talker, you might understand psychology. Yeah. I think psychology is a key thing. Can you read people? Can you understand what people mean when they say things?
Yeah.
If you've got those and you genuinely feel that's for you, then I don't see any better place to be, because we train you really, really well. We support you really, really well. And the way our business is structured from a potential earnings perspective, you can do really well for yourselves, but it takes time. So be aware that you probably will spend the first 2 years working harder than you might do in your whole career for very little reward, knowing what comes out the other side.
Yeah, it's what comes later, I suppose.
It is,
because
yeah.
you've got to start somewhere.
Go earn your dues.
You do, and you've got to put in that really, obviously it can be hard work throughout your career, but you've got to put in that work at the beginning to establish a foundation to sort of launch yourself from.
It's a different kind of work, we've talked about that resilience, right? But I think, once you're 2 years in and you've been successful, you start to create a lot of incoming work. Where you can account manage and go to meetings and take a customer out for lunch sometimes, and all these lovely things that make the day different, the week's different.
Developing those relationships.
Of course, and you are still on the phone calling, but there's a mix of some cold calls with managing current business and business reviews and all those kind of things. The first 2 years is just bang, 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 because you've got to get to the point where you have those accounts.
It's a hard slog.
So it's not necessarily working harder, but the work itself is mentally tough at the start.
Yeah, I can see that, absolutely. So anybody looking to apply, prepare yourself for that. But then there's that opportunity at the end of it.
Oh, it's a huge opportunity, and it's very, very real. We always talk about the fact that, when you come in here on day one, the potential commission structure and you get to see the sales figures every day. So you can see what people are making for their lives. Yeah, you can see it in black and white on day one that you start here. It's not hidden. So, we know the potential, and that's why when often people tell me, can you, talk about the academy? I don't try and pitch it. I try and almost anti-sell it. Because the ones that listen to that and go, I can do that, they know it warts and all, right? It's tough. But the opportunity is very, very real,
Yeah, fantastic. So we've spoken about your career, we've spoken about the academy.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions to finish with. What would you say you are most proud of in your career to date?
In my career, I would say I'm most proud of the fact that a lot...